The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go!
Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip, and boy, it feels good to be back after missing the last couple of games. Apologize for that, as I had a bit of a health issue this week that kind of came out of nowhere, so glad to be back talking puck. And what an exciting game to be at for the Winnipeg Jets. That last game before Christmas, the atmosphere is always going, and the Winnipeg Jets absolutely reward everybody with a season's beatings, y'all, as Jeff Cabeals talks about over on YouTube tonight. Obviously, this is a fun one. Let's bring Mikey in here. A lot to talk about around this team right now. A lot to talk about in this one. Mikey, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. That was a fun Saturday. That's exactly what the team needed. Jets won. Habs won. I'm a happy guy tonight. This is the vibes are immaculate. I'm excited to talk about this game and everything going on with the Jets, and I'm excited to talk to our chat again. I've missed our shows the last couple of days, and this is great. I'm real excited.
Yeah, I feel like I've been locked in a cage for the week, man. I'm looking forward. This might go past an hour if I get going here. It's been a week of silence here. I'm excited to get into it, but before we do, we gotta start something, right? We gotta take it somewhere. JPix29 says, "Give it to me."
Ask and you shall
Let's
receive.
Start the vibes. Beating down the little brother, baby.
Feels good.
Every time does that feel good. And yeah, put it out on Twitter there. That game looked like a big brother beating up the little brother a couple days before Christmas and making the household a little tense. That was a ass kicking of the rival Minnesota Mild. I mean, can you even call it a rivalry at this point if only one team's consistently beating the other team?
The Wild haven't beaten the Jets in 2 full seasons now, 8 straight games. It's exactly how you put it. It's, little brother got a little too uppity, and we just had to remind them, we're a lot bigger still, and we'll put you in that headlock. We'll give you that wedgie, and then, we'll send you on to mom, and you can go cry about it.
Yeah, like this is just a complete domination up and down the Winnipeg Jets lineup versus the Wild right now. Obviously, in-house, I kind of found it crazy, and it's not often you're going to hear me say this. Connor Hellebuyck was the first star, and I know the shutout was there, but that's got to be potentially the easiest shutout of Connor Hellebuyck's career. The Winnipeg Jets let up next to nothing. The only one that was really creating for the Wild, Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, all-world talent clearly in the MVP race, and he had created some opportunities there. And then there's that Murat shot off the crossbar. But the Winnipeg Jets did a great job keeping Minnesota out of the danger zone. And hey, we talk about a lot that we want to see the Winnipeg Jets getting to the crease, getting to the slot, getting to the middle of the ice. A lot of those goals today coming from point shots, tips, rebounds, driving that net. Just a lot of good to see out of the Winnipeg Jets tonight.
Yeah, there's 2 halves of the game story, I feel like. The Jets half, which is how well they played kind of just overall. We'll get into maybe some individual performances, some line performances, but top to bottom, it was just a positive evening from the Winnipeg Jets lineup. And the other half of it is how bad the Minnesota Wild were. That team hasn't scored a goal without Kirill Kaprizov on the ice in 17 periods now. 17 periods straight of no goals unless he's on the ice to do it. They've got 4 goals in their last 5 games total. Like, it's just they're a bad offensive team right now, considering all of the injuries and everything else going on there. So, yeah, the Jets get their flowers for smacking them around, and also the Wild look like they played last night. So,
and hey, you roll through that. You take those on the schedule all day long. Looking over on the chat, a couple places I want to go. Nik activated off the IR. Glad to see it. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. Doug, just watched the game with him. Is hitting the vape pen after a solid victory. And hey, you gotta, whatever your vice of choice is tonight, dive in after that one. The Winnipeg Jets should have you feeling good. But let's go to Matt Rothman here. Great things happen when Pionk plays well and a certain defenseman isn't in the lineup. I want to start with Neil Pionk. Had a real tough California trip. Did not get to talk about it, obviously. But things went the way I see Neil Pionk's game going at 5-on-5 when things aren't going well. That slap shot from the point, though, continues to be a weapon for the Winnipeg Jets on the power play. Of course, the Nemestikov tip comes right after the power play ends. But that's the type of effort you want to see from Neil Pionk coming off a real rough stretch, celebrating game 500, which is quite the remarkable feat in the NHL. A nice bounce back showing for number 4.
Yeah, it's incredible the shooting percentage that he's carrying right now and continues to carry. Like, you would go, that's not sustainable, except, you put him out there on the power play in that type of role with that shot. Yeah, he's going to keep knocking those in, and I hope he keeps doing it. As I've said multiple times, he's going to get himself a nice big fat contract somewhere else.
That the goal he scores, I had a perfect beeline of that entire shot. Picks that top corner perfect, absolute bomb, gets the nice low shot off Cole Perfetti's pass, who, time to give him some flowers tonight. I know a lot of people have been down on him. I'm excited to talk about Cole Perfetti in a bit here. Keeps that shot low for the Vlad tip. At 5-on-5, that pair was playing much more up the other way. We're going to be kind of taking an overview of some of the numbers with the Winnipeg Jets, what to kind of expect moving forward tomorrow. But this felt like a really good bounce back. I felt Fleury, too, was very good and active with his stick in the D zone, especially on the penalty kill. Positives to see there. But as you kind of were just talking about, I see B Sarge 8 talks about in the Twitch chat. Pionk extension just keeps getting more expensive. Is he pricing himself out of Winnipeg? Are we going to sign the big long-term ticket to end his career?
I truly think he's going to price himself out of Winnipeg. Those counting stats are so big on the open market. His agent can go out there at the end of the season with career highs and goals and points, power play time, and somebody else will be willing to give him more. It's just going to be the reality of the situation. I feel as long as he keeps this play up, there's no injuries that come up in between now and then. But I feel like if he can keep somewhere near this pace, one, it's great for the Jets, right? That production is massive. We need that production from the back end. We will take that all day long. And number two, I think he's going to price himself right out of Winnipeg into a nice, cushy, long-term, overpaid contract somewhere in, who knows where, Southern California, maybe.
Southern California. That is kind of an interesting fit. I know I've been bugging Jordan about
The Ducks.
Orange County. I'm going to leave my comments out of that because I'm going to take a little deep dive in what he's looked like without Sandberg and what he's looked like with him. And we'll present that evidence tomorrow. You're right. The Jets definitely need that type of offensive performance from Neil Pionk. It's great to see. But, yeah, we'll save that. I think everyone knows where I stand on that one. But a couple other places to go with that conversation and that comment from Matt Rothman. Obviously, certain defenseman isn't in the lineup. We know Logan Stanley is now out for this game and the next one after blocking that shot. I see Turd Ferguson say, did our PK hold tonight without PK specialist Logan Stanley in the lineup? He's supposed to be there over Villian Miller for that reason. Yeah. I loved what I saw from the Winnipeg Jets penalty kill tonight. Minnesota's PP, kind of like the offense you're talking about, has been sputtering a bit, but the sticks were active. They were tight in that center ice spot. There was a few times Adam Lowry gets that breakaway.
Yep.
This was a game that, again, goes against the myth of needing to play someone because he's a PK specialist. And the other side of it, goal number one, we know the Jets have had slow starts so far, and it's become a bit of a trend. It's become a talking point. It's become a real thing. The first goal in this game starts with the third pairing being able to move the puck up the ice. Ville Heinola has those crossovers going, builds up some space, gets the line, dumps it in. Adam Lowry's line gets out there, goes to work. They draw an offensive zone power play. 6 seconds later, the Jets have a goal. Guess who wasn't getting that puck down in that zone? You're not making that. You're not finding that lane with cement feet on a fridge on ice. It's the little details. And this was, again, we've been talking about the third pair getting absolutely buried. First game in a while, the metrics are over 50%.
Yeah, it's not hard to see where the difference lies, right? And I want to just kind of make a quick point on the PK specialist thing. It is two different things to say a guy plays on the penalty kill and a guy is good at playing on the penalty kill. Logan Stanley gets a lot of penalty kill minutes, but is not effective at those minutes. That is not a positive reason to want him in the lineup to say, oh, he plays a lot of penalty kill. Yes, he plays it poorly, unfortunately. On a night where he's not in there, they go 4 for 4 on the penalty kill. They find offensive looks even because of the pressure and ability to move the puck that they have back there. And then the 5-on-5 impact of that third pairing not being an absolute just crater is it's almost ineffable. It's almost to a point where I can't even say, that outlet pass that Heinola makes, I think it was in the late second period, going from blue line all the way, springing, I think it was Ehlers, into the, offensive zone. Those little things that you just don't see with Stanley, who can't make a pass 2 feet to his left to save his life, it's night and day. Getting to see them be able to skate the puck, having a proper first pass out of the zone. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect night, and we can talk about the long shift that they had, which even then I don't think is really all that on them. I just thought it was a real good progression, not only from Heinola individually, but from that pair. I like to see them work together. Yeah, that's the way it should look, I think.
And that stretch pass you talk about, it's exactly the difference we're talking about in being able to stretch the ice. But Ville Heinola is skating into traffic, and he sees that there's two wild, pressuring him off, and he turns in and gets to the middle of the ice, creating that gap, creating that opening to get it up to Ehlers. And you're right, it wasn't a Picasso. They get stuck out on that long shift with the fourth line, probably the Wild's best shift of the night as far as consistent pressure goes. And there was a couple times when they went D to D and, got fumbled behind the net. And those are things that are going to happen in the course of the game. But the impact overall was so much better than what we've been seeing in that third pair. This is the third pair we envisioned coming into the year. The skill sets match each other. It's not going to happen. We're going to see it for one more game. But it was another example in their 3 games together, and it's a small sample size. Ville Heinola and Colin Miller have been positive across the board in the underlying metrics, and the Jets don't have the roster to be able to continue to waste the spot. They just don't.
Yeah, it's just real frustrating to watch a game like that where you go, that is a really good progression from 2 guys against a good team, even though they are struggling offensively at the moment. Overall, it's a good roster. There's a reason why they're right behind us in the standings. And to see them be a positive force out there and just do the things that the Jets specifically need. They need, offensive production from the back end. They need that outlet pass. They need that ability to skate out the puck. And you have it right there. You need to nurture that. You need to foster it. You have to develop it. That other half of the thing we talk about in draft and develop. We have to develop it at the NHL level. And you can't develop NHL skills not playing against NHL players. Heinola needs that runway that Stanley was given. I know it's only going to be for one more game, and then he's either at best going to be slid back over to the right-hand side, but more likely back to the press box. It's just frustrating.
Elias McCracken says over on YouTube, Ville looks so much more comfortable on his natural side, duh. And Arneal finally commented on that post-game. If you don't mind sharing that comment, I'll try and pull it up quick. But I am fascinated to know, although I'll say this, again, we'll save this for tomorrow. Today's a good vibe show. I can't say I've been too thrilled with Arneal in the media as of late, and there might be a bit of a wake-up call coming on tomorrow's show. I don't know how much I'm going to read into a quote from him on this matter, but I am very curious to see what he had to say in this one. If you could share that along as we have this show ongoing here. Max is silent. Good to be back. Did the boycott end with 64 out of the lineup? I know he was not watching. He says, perfect is the enemy of very good, and the Jets kicked their asses tonight, and they most certainly did. Also pouring one out for my homie, Jared Spurgeon, who maybe had the worst game I've ever seen him play. That whole Wild team, other than Kaprizov obviously stood out, and I really do enjoy watching Brock Faber, as hard as that is to admit. This team was definitely a freight train over the Wild tonight, and we saw it throughout the lineup. But we saw it from guys that we haven't seen normally. Let's move to the fourth line. We've talked a lot about how that group stagnated. They haven't been a positive for the Jets lately, and there's been a lot of talk about, I know I've been pushing it, Ilya Chibrikov staying with the big club and taking one of the spots of Morgan Barron likely. Talk about a guy answering on this night with a couple of quality chances. Couldn't believe I was in the house for a Morgan Barron goal. Couldn't believe the pass before to Iafallo. I'm still shocked Wallstedt makes that save. Picture perfect pass, picture perfect touch from Iafallo.
Yep.
But that fourth line was creating and generating today quite a bit. What did you see from them?
Yeah, it was another kind of classic game from that fourth line group. I've been also kind of hard on Morgan Barron, looking at the spot as, where you can upgrade. But he came through today. His comments in the post-game scrum were also kind of interesting. He talked about how he thought he could have done a better job stopping at the net before that. And he kind of just swung from behind. But it was interesting because, he overskates that spot initially, but he knows to kind of park himself right there and look for that puck, right? He didn't just kind of go, shit, and then try to come back around. He was smart enough to kind of look at it there. So it was good. That fourth line contributing, again, is something that the Jets are going to need. This is a contribution by community. This is what that group is going to be all year long. They're not going to have one line that's going to be, top 2 in the league. So they need all 4 of those lines to be pulling. And yeah, that was great by Morgan Barron. Happy that he gets a goal on an actual goaltender now instead of just those short or empty net goals. And yeah, it's good for the chemistry, good for the confidence.
Yeah, hey, talking about getting activated off the IR, Gus gets back in. And I got to say, I'm still a believer in David Gustafsson, man, as far as a 4C goes. I really like the compete and work to his game. I think he complements that group well. We even saw, and it was a mixed shift after a power play, Gus, Perfetti, and Nino create quite the shift together.
Yep.
I'm down to see some more David Gustafson again. I want to see my boy off the AR.
We haven't had any real bad games out of Gus when he has had the opportunity to step in, outside of getting hurt, right? That was really the biggest knock, is the poor guy got fucking concussed. So yeah, he's been a positive force when he's out there, and it gives the fourth line, it gives them some more flexibility, right? They're not playing a ton of minutes, right? But they're still getting double-digit minutes every game, and those are hard minutes that they're playing. They're putting their bodies through it. So to have guys that you can rotate in and have take away a few games, it's always positive. Yep.
I see. I got to address this comment quick before we get back to some of the in-game stuff. Huge Ass Vibes says, sorry for the lack of Squirtle. I'll say, hey, thanks for trying. We tried to bring Sack Squirtle out as a Christmas treat. You know, it's 1 year to the date almost of it coming out and becoming a thing. Appreciate the effort, and I want to say, on the in-game experience tonight, really, really well done by the Winnipeg Jets, from the pre-game light show on the ice and the Christmas vibes to the giveaways with all the kids, some big plushes, some, like a NASCAR car type setup. There was a lot of giveaways tonight. There was a lot of hype in the arena, a lot of really good hype-up videos done by that team. Even if we didn't get Sack Squirtle, I thought the Winnipeg Jets crushed the holiday last game before holiday night. This continues to become one of my favorite nights of the year to go down to the arena. The vibes are great, and I thought the Jets put on a good show past just the hockey game tonight, so I wanted to shout that out.
Which is really impressive when you think back just like 2 seasons ago, when the in-game experience had dipped to such a poor level that I don't even know if it was worth going some nights. Not only was the, product on the ice not that great at the time, but also just the atmosphere, the in-game experience was so lacking. So yeah, big shout out to the Jets for putting on a real good show, getting those vibes going, but mostly shout out to the fans who I heard had some pretty interesting chants up in the stands there tonight.
There was a few going. One of them I could not make out to save my life from where I was sitting, so I might have missed one of the creative ones. There was a couple of chants for Fleury. There was some early Hartman stuff, but like I said, it was kind of in pockets. It didn't really pick up its steam, and there was a couple I didn't hear. So what did you catch? What did you catch?
The one that kind of sparked some discourse on the internet was the "We have healthcare" chant at the Minnesota Wild.
See, that might have been the one I couldn't make out. That is funny. Though,
which is pretty good.
Some teases that we might become the 51st state, but we'll leave that one alone. Moving back to the game, and I want to touch on the D one last time here.
Yep.
Was that the closest we've seen to the Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello level we're used to? And is that something to potentially get excited about, or is it a one-game thing here? I thought they were excellent today. I thought Dylan DeMello had one of his better games in a while. The puck movement was there. That step up. I don't know how he gets a roughing call on a perfectly clean hit that Kirill snaps about.
Yep.
But really, really liked what I saw from the number one pair tonight.
Yeah, they were a 60% Corsi pairing tonight. I don't think I have a single note of glaring Dylan DeMello, oh my God, what were you thinking moments in this game, which is huge.
Been a lot this year.
And there's right. There's been at minimum there's been at least one in every game. I'm looking through my notes, so I don't have any of those put down for Double D tonight. I thought the pairing was good. Yes, it is only one game because that's all we've seen of it so far, but we have a lot of games where we've seen him do this in the past. We know that he is capable of doing this consistently. So I'm really hoping that this is, game one of, the start of him playing well again. So, yep, it was good. That's exactly what we want to see, and I hope it goes forward.
Let's move to the power play. We talked about the penalty kill, 4 for 4, and didn't give up much of anything. This was one of the better nights or most comfortable nights I felt on the penalty kill with this team this year. And the Winnipeg Jets power play continues to go. Again, both units chip in on this one. Nick Ehlers 6 seconds into that one power play from Morrissey and Connor. Then that second power play, that Neil Pion clapper, top corner we were talking about, comes from Cole Perfetti and Nino Niederreiter. And then the Vlad tip comes right after that 5-on-3, turn 5-on-4 expired. So there was the guy had just jumped out of the box, and it was kind of interesting when Cole Perfetti sent that pass up the wall to Pionk. A lot of people in my section kind of cringed and were like, no, because the guy was jumping back in the play.
Yeah.
Pionk gets it to the net. Vlad tips it. So that power play continues to be a difference maker for this team, and continues to be the one thing that's a rather constant so far through this season.
Yeah, they won't get credit for that one being a power play goal, right? But that power play unit should get, they should get the credit for it because they put the work in. They scored that goal with the player coming right back on there. So essentially, the power play almost goes perfect on the night. It's wonderful what Nick Ehlers does to that power play. Not only his presence on that first power play unit, but the ability to bring Cole Perfetti back down to that second unit where he's just much more suited to the guys playing with him there, that both units then become extremely dangerous again. And it can't be overstated, I think, how important Nick Ehlers is to that power play system working on both units. And yeah, that's been the consistent, almost consistent thing all year. They had a rough month of November. They showed the stat during the game. They operated, I think, at 13% over the course of November. So that brought them back down to earth a little bit. But over the last 6 or 7 games now, they're at like a 44%. Not including today. So that's going to jump up even more. So yeah, this is the special teams have shown that they're the Jets' biggest strength, both power play and penalty kill. And when they're firing, man, it's impossible to try to keep up with those groups.
Yeah, good touch. I should have said when the power play units are healthy. We had talked about the fact that Perfetti on that top unit just didn't have the Ehlers impact as far as speed and the support role he's kind of established. And just how much Cole Perfetti kind of quarterbacks that PP alongside Pionk up at the top of the second unit. Good to see that with the group healthy. It does feel dangerous every time out there. Zooch 40 says, I'm not going to get hyped as much as normal about tonight's game. Jets' biggest weakness, and coming off a back-to-back, Minnesota had no gas and couldn't pay the speed needed. Thoughts there? Because, I agree. Given this stretch we've seen, this is still a 500 group over the last 19 games, and a lot of reasons why the Winnipeg Jets should win a game like this. Would you consider tonight the true test to see if they've gotten over some type of hump here?
No, I still wouldn't put it up as the true test to say that they're back. They did what they were supposed to do when facing a team that is coming off of a back-to-back without one of the defensemen on their top pairing, without their, Joel Eriksson-Ek as well off the top line, starting goaltender not in the lineup. There's a lot of things going against Minnesota. And like Zuch said, weakness is speed, and Minnesota didn't have any speed tonight. The other thing to kind of think about, too, is the top line was fine in terms of possession, but offensive production really wasn't there. Kyle Connor with a point as the only person out in that group, right? So, no, I don't think this is the one to say for sure that, yes, they're back. But I will say that they did exactly what they were supposed to do to a team that looks like this. The real test is Monday. That's going to be the one to say whether or not this group is back to firing on all cylinders. I was a little worried about Adam Lowry when he left and went down the tunnel because he didn't come back out. Arniel said, though, in the post-game comments that Lowry's fine. He's going to play Monday. They just kept him out as precautionary after that point, so that's a big sigh of relief because we need this group, the one that's out there essentially right now, minus Still and Sandberg, this is the group that has to kind of find their footing. This is the one that needs the chemistry, needs the confidence. They have to kind of now start putting it together as a group, and that Monday I think will go a long way in telling us if that's where they're at.
Okay, so touching on Elias got that quote that we were looking for. Arniel said all 4 lines were going tonight. That's Villies being back on the left side, familiar playing with Millsy. Millsy helps Villy. They got lots of minutes. That helps too. Hey, it's almost like that's the type of situation you want to bring a young guy into and use together. I don't know. Maybe, Scotty, think about it.
Crazy.
Where else do I want to go there? On that top line, obviously, I felt it was interesting for them. They felt like just off, especially like Mark Scheifele on the passing, where him and Connor had that 2-on-1. And how often does he miss that look? Then he creates that really nice play in the second period that I'm stunned Kyle Connor didn't put away in the slot. but there was also the gaffes we've seen at times go the other way. There's a shift I really like to see how Villy worked off that top line. Again, talking about that offensive creation and helping a group out. I really liked how him, Connor, and Scheifele worked off that triangle.
Yep.
Wasn't a Picasso, but I liked a lot of what they created, and I felt they were just off on a couple. The line today that they've been the worst line in the NHL so far this season. Had a big night. Perfetti, Nemestikov, Ehlers.
Yep.
This might have been the best game I've seen them play as a group. Max the Silent talked about it earlier on Twitch, saying Vladdy fucked tonight for real. This was a great showing from Vlad Nemestikov. He was all over that O-zone with the forecheck. Cole Perfetti. This was the version of Cole Perfetti when I'm trying to sell people on the idea. Cole Perfetti is a quality hockey player in this league. It's a 3-point night, a goal, a primary assist, and a secondary assist, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He was getting in there in the corners, forechecking, using that body positioning. We know he's not a strong guy, but when he gets his body positioning on guys, he is so smart at making the next play. On that, obviously gets that turnover, right? Great shot. Beats Walt said, glove side. The rim up to Pionk being able to work off a guy like Nino, who, like I mentioned, that one shift with Gus, I like how Nino and Perfetti kind of work off each other in this cycle. It's a really interesting dynamic there. And obviously having Nick Ehlers back, able to spread the ice with that speed. They're talking in the chat how on Hockey Night in Canada, they're talking about Nick Ehlers being one of the fastest guys in the league. We're seeing him start to get that footing back. From what I understand, again, I missed a lot of the Cali games. It sounded like he had a pretty rough week at 5-on-5. But obviously he's been a key piece to that power play being efficient. I thought he really looked a step back, which is good to see coming off that injury. But for me on that line today, it's Cole Perfetti. We know the market's been getting a little frustrated with him. We had that one show with multiple calls. This is what you want to see from Cole Perfetti. This is what he can be. And this is a good hockey player in the NHL when he's going.
Yeah, that line gave you everything tonight. They gave you offensive production. They gave you defensive soundness. As a line tonight, all three of them, they didn't take a single shot against. That's how dominant they were, offense 5-on-5 tonight. So if those are the type of nights they can put in, yeah, that's what we need to see. Now, do I like them as a group long term? Not really. That's not the way I would put the lineup together. But if we can get efforts like this, production like this, we'll take it for now.
I know, absolutely.
Right.
You want to see nights like tonight.
Yep.
Julian over on YouTube says good game from Vlad, but he still needs to be moved down the lineup. The Jets need a true 2C, and that's some kind of conversation we're going to continue to have at the end of this show. I do have maybe a 1C that might be becoming available.
Dun dun dun.
That is time for Chevy to put everything on the table for.
Yep.
Well, we'll get there as it goes. But before we get into that kind of talk, the identity line for Winnipeg has really struggled the last month and a bit. We've started to talk about it more and more frequently. It's been a line that, even with the top line scoring during some of this stretch, they haven't carried the weight, which has been odd for that group. It's not something we've been seeing from that group in the majority of the time they've been there together. A really, really great showing from the Adam Lowry line, especially Nino Niederreiter, who I thought he was all over this game when he was on the ice, creating contacts, becoming a transition guy for that group on a really efficient level tonight, getting to that net. Good to see the identity line that they want to be that type of pressure group get back to that level of play on a night like this against the Minnesota Wild.
Yep, that was a get right game for that line. And they got back to it, which is, I keep harping at it, but they need all four lines. They do. And this is the type of game where they got at least that positive pull from all four. And I'm really hoping that this is, that start of good things to come. This is the beginning point now I'm really hoping for.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We're going to talk a lot more about that, and I'm not sure if that's what I want from the team moving forward, but at this point, that's what the team is hoping for, so we'll keep it there. And they, again, all four lines, I thought, did their job on this night, especially the bottom groups that have really, really struggled as of late. Good to see. Jet Centric over on YouTube's talking about unrelated. I'm ready to talk about Kieran Walton, but not for the reasons you think. Just kidding, not tonight. I do want to talk about Kieran Walton first. I know where Jet Centric wants to go. We had this conversation, but the Winnipeg Jets and Kevin He and Kieran Walton look to have swung pretty well in the 4th and 6th round last year. With the seasons they're having. Kieran Walton put up an absolute highlight reel going end to end last night, though the defense on it seemed a little suspect the whole way up. But watching the hands on a guy that big, and what he's 4th in the OHL in points as of today. Quite the swing in the 6th round. Still, you like to see that kind of progression, and you start to think of those guys as potentially projectable NHLers. But at the same time, we also know a lot of prospects don't become anything. I think this is my way of saying, with how much good is going on in the farm system now, even more reason to load them up for the next guy I want to talk about.
Yeah, this is the, I want all of the highlight reels. I want all of the national media. I want so much attention on guys like Kevin He and Kieran Walton right now, because that's just going to increase their value in the trade market. Yes, I know we should be looking at it as, oh, they're going to be great Jets one day. But also right now we're kind of in a, hey, I want a Stanley Cup banner hanging from the rafters. So, this might be the time to cash in on some guys with some name cachet.
It's always good to see Jeff Merrick, and we know how much eyes and ears are listening to Jeff Merrick start pumping out content about Kieran Walton on Twitter. And it's one of those things too, right? Like, you drafted those guys in the 4th and the 6th, and if teams see something in them, you're going to turn that asset into more than you just used to acquire them in less than a year ago. Not too bad. Max the Silent makes an interesting comp, and I saw it in that goal last night. He says Tage Thompson 2.0, the 6'6" offensive player. The goal last night looked a lot like Tage Thompson, and I believe I saw someone in Jets Twitter talking about how they watched some interviews of Walton where that's who he's modeled his game after.
Makes
really,
sense.
really interesting comp, and visually it looked there. But again, the Winnipeg Jets, their windows the next few years, if you could throw those guys in deals because of the enhanced visibility, that's only going to help this program.
Yeah, it's all about trying to increase that return, right? You've got these guys that you didn't spend a lot to get in terms of draft capital, and if they're going to start taking on some big national news and national media, other teams are going to come and go, hey, I value that at a way higher rate than what it costs the Jets to acquire. That's just good asset management, right? That's something that small teams have to do. So, although there's always the other half of it, right? There's always the other half that you look at and go, well, small teams, you have to draft your own guys. And if you can find real NHL talent super late in drafts, there's also value to that. I totally understand. I want a banner. I want to see that Stanley Cup banner hanging from the MTS Center rafters, and I'm pretty much willing to use any name to get it.
Zero Ghost 8 says Walton is 6'6". He's here for the next 19 years. And hey, if he breaks out and becomes Tage Thompson 2.0, not a bad thing either. But Zero Ghost 8 also goes there. And he says Perfetti for Pettersson, 1-for-1. Not quite what that makeup is, but let's talk about the biggest. And I look back because I remember posting a clip of the conversation. I believe it was the November 3rd show. I said there was potential that Elias Pettersson would become available in Vancouver.
Yep.
And if that were to happen, it's basically the Jack Eichel situation leaving Buffalo as far as the ability to get a proven number one center. Now, why would a team trade Elias Pettersson? If you haven't been paying attention, going back to last year at the deadline, Jimmy Rutherford threatened PD to go to Carolina if he didn't sign an 8-year deal. PD signed to stay in Van, and that's despite years and years of a bad relationship with JT Miller. It's been an open secret out there for a while, and all of a sudden, it is completely public. Agents have been involved, management, coaches, the players, and former teammates or guys within the organization. Eddie Lack saying you have a better chance of fixing your golf game than fixing those two as relationship. You look at Rick Tocchet. JT Miller is probably more suited for what the mold Rick Tocchet would like in a hockey team. It's giving a lot of Blake Wheeler, Patrick Laine vibes for me. And the one thing with Jimmy Rutherford, is he would trade any player to frickin' Taiwan if he can get the value. He's not someone that's going to be looking to do anyone a favor, especially a player without no trade protection. If that relationship boils over and Jimmy Rutherford decides he's got to move one of those guys, Elias Pettersson is the number one biggest opportunity the Winnipeg Jets window has ever had, and it's time to take the big swing. You want to talk about the one thing we've talked about, Mark Scheifele, low end for a 1C once you get to the playoffs, but would be a fantastic 2C. Guess what Elias Pettersson does? It gives you EP, Mark Scheifele, Adam Lowry as your 3Cs going into the playoffs. This is an elite defensive number 1C that has the ability when he's healthy. The one thing about him, when he's unhealthy, you could see it in his game. He kind of has that PLD in him. When he's unhealthy, it's not pretty. This is a guy that put up 100 points, defensively reliable as they come. He leads the NHL in defensive breakups this year. Talk about a guy that could lead the way and stop plays defensively and then go the other way with Kyle Connor. My hot take is if you brought a guy like EP here, you got 100-point players if you played him and Kyle Connor together. This is the opportunity. It's the 1C. It's a guy that's in his prime that does not have any trade protection at this stage of his career that gives you a top 10 centerman to go with your number one goalie and a top 5 defenseman. That's how you vault this team into real Stanley Cup conversation if that opportunity arises. This is the one you sit on.
Yeah, that completely changes the outlook of the Winnipeg Jets. Not only on the ice, where you go from a team that has to have all 4 lines going every single night. You can't have an off night by, the top line because then you cave in other things, to all of a sudden now you have a top line that could be one of the most dominant and offensive producing lines in the entire National Hockey League. The downstream domino effect makes the matchups an absolute nightmare for opposing teams everywhere else on the forward group. And then just even the off-ice stuff, the business side of it, the amount of, you never have to worry about selling out games the rest of the season. That'll be fine. Your jersey sales will go through the roof. It is such a game changer from a hockey standpoint, a business standpoint. That shows that it tells that group of players, we're for real about this. It tells your fans, we're for real about this. And that's your big shot at going and getting that championship. Yeah, if you can go out and add Elias Pettersson to this group, you have to do everything you can. There's no question about it. You just have to. That
is how you give Connor Hellebuyck 7 more chances at a Stanley Cup. That is the opportunity. That is the only way you're getting a 1C into Winnipeg.
Yep.
These opportunities are rare. You have the cap space. You have the assets to be able to pull something like that, and it's going to cost a lot. People are going to groan about what that kind of cost is until you get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you have Mark Scheifele as probably top 3, top 5, 2C anywhere. All of a sudden Mark Scheifele is the second center people got to worry about.
Yeah, that's we keep talking, Jets need to add a second line center. Look, we did. It's Mark Scheifele. If you could have a second Mark Scheifele playing with that, that group on the other line, you would jump at that opportunity, a player of that caliber, right? So yeah, that's the big solution, to be honest, is you add a 1C. And I talked about it a few weeks ago when we did that kind of just breakaway episode that, the Jets, Mark Scheifele is an okay 1C in the regular season, but that's not your 1C in the playoffs if you're going to be successful and going for a deep run. So yeah, the fact that Elias Pettersson could even be available right now because of all these issues with JT Miller, you have to jump on it. You just have to. Now, the thing I'm worried about more so is that, it's like you said, it reminds you of the Blake Wheeler, Patrick Laine situation. And we know which way the organization sided at that time. What if they go to make a trade and
tomorrow? We're going to dive more.
And then we end up with JT Miller and not Elias Pettersson.
Hey, the thing there is Miller does have trade protection. He's never coming to Winnipeg, but I would definitely sign up for JT Miller as well. I'm not saying that would be a thing, but I mean, EP, it's just an opportunity. It's an opportunity.
You have to. You break the bank for it. You truly do.
But moving off of that, where do you want to go tonight, Mikey?
Well, first off, we're going to open up the phones here. So everybody, 1-204-800-0409, 1-204-800-0409. Give us a call at the landing strip. It's a good time.
Max is silent. I'm guessing that comment is about Scheif. I just want to clarify. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
If that door opens, you make the cap work. You make the assets work. You actually vault yourself into that conversation.
Yeah. Now it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna cost an arm and a leg, and we'll go into all the different scenarios and ways that we can, make that work on the show tomorrow. But that is, just prepping everybody. You're gonna have to accept it. All right, we got our first caller. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Hey, is Destiny working tonight?
No, she's not. Thanks for calling, though.
That's a good one. Hey, what happened there is he looked up the landing strip on Google, and I don't think we're at the top of that list. So I understand the confusion there.
We've got real good SEO, I guess. So, that's all right.
Zooch40 says getting EP costs Ehlers. Current cap is 4 mil plus Ehlers 6 mil, and then extra prospects to get it done. Load them up.
Yeah.
I'll Uber them to the airport. I don't care which set it is. It would not matter when it comes to that level of player.
Yeah, there's
You're
really
not
nobody
getting
on
that level
the
of player anywhere else.
There's nobody on the Jets that comes close to the type of talent you'd be able to add an EP40. So whatever it's going to cost to make it work, you make it work.
Elias McCracken says Scheif would still want to play with KFC. EP would play with Ehlers. I don't care what Mark Scheifele wants if you get Elias Pettersson into Winnipeg, to be quite frank. And I'll keep throwing this out there. When they had PLD, KC played with PLD. When there's been another option, they've gone to be willing to split that up.
Yeah, Connor
You've got to maximize the lineup. All of a sudden, you have Ehlers, Scheifele as your second line, and guys that have actually produced well enough to be a quality first line. And you have EP you have Connor with a defensive-minded center that could put up 100 points. That's the dream fit. I've talked about Eichel being the dream fit for Kyle Connor's play. EP40 is pretty damn close for me. Damn close for me.
And that's exactly they're the same mold of player, and that's exactly what Kyle Connor needs. Like you said, you could have two 100-point players on that first line, and you'd be laughing your way to the bank with Scheifele not that far behind, probably on that second line, just because, again, easier matchups going up against, second line competition as opposed to top line competition. Just the matchups alone give you such an advantage if you can add somebody as big as EP40.
Matt Hyman says, what a good game to be in the arena for. Talked about that a bit earlier. Awesome time to be there. Glad you enjoyed it. Elias asking more on the EP40 stuff, and I think I'm going to make him faint right now. What if it cost Perfetti, Lambo, Salmonson, and a first? I'm logging into Uber. I'm picking up Cole Perfetti. I'm picking up Brad Lambert. I'm picking up Elias Salmonson. I'm saying, get in, boys. That first round pick's going to be in the bottom 6. Gone.
Yep.
Gone.
That first round pick is going to be 32nd because we're going to get the cup. So it's all right.
Gone.
And like you said, it hurts because, Salmonson is the big right-handed D prospect that they've got. But again, that banner hangs forever. I'm doing it.
Gone. You're never going to find a guy at this level. You never will find a guy at this level in time to meet the Hellebuck window.
No.
Unless you bet the farm on Elias Pettersson, who is a superstar in his prime. It's not like it's a hired gun for a year. You're all of a sudden getting to build around Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck, and Elias Pettersson with Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele falling behind, which is a great place to be. We talk about trading for a 2C and Vlad moving down a peg, or trading for a top right D and DeMello moving down. Think about that opportunity that if you brought in an EP, Scheifele's your 2C, Vlad's your 4C, and you have two elite defensive centers in EP and Lowry, but one of them actually produces at an offensive clip that not many guys in the NHL can touch when he's on. This is the type of guy that actually can take over a hockey game on his own. I've watched those late night Vancouver games. EP40, when he is on, is one of the best centers in the NHL. You just don't, and we saw it. The cap's expensive. They have over $40 million to play with going into next year. You get a guy like that, and you work around it after.
Yeah.
You change your core. You change your ceiling. You change your floor by getting a talent of that bit.
Yeah, the entire thing is different now. Again, and off the ice, it becomes completely different as well. The business side of it would be huge. You're adding one of the best players in the NHL, one of the biggest players in world hockey, right? This isn't just like here, right? He's a massive, massive star in Sweden as well. It just, you do that trade all day. There are so many ways that it benefits the team, not just on the ice, but like the business side as well. Yeah, you do it, and like Max the Silent says, flags fly forever. We're putting that banner up if we're trying to go for a guy like this.
Matt Hyman says, I'm sorry, Nick and Mikey. I'm pumped for the game. Thanks for taking my call anyways. Hey, we love it. We're just trying to be careful with the troll calls. We don't know where they're going to end up. And I love the joke about the landing strip and Destiny, so don't worry about it. It's a good one. It's good, yeah. Elias says, then what do you pay to get the top 4 D we also need? You're going to look at a lower level of a D, like a kind of like a Jake Wallman, who Mike Greer looks like a genius for getting a second-round pick with the season he's having. You're going to look at that level of a player. But when you have that top 9 that you're going to have, if you brought in a guy like that, that D convo becomes a little bit less of a conversation when you have a star player that could take over a game and does impact the team at a very, very high clip defensively.
Yeah, if they're adding that big up front, then the addition on D is just going to be more so just depth, guys who can play NHL minutes that fit their system. It won't be the answer that we're looking for back there for a long-term big contract to shore it all up. But you don't have to, because then your approach is a little bit different when you've got EP40 up top.
For sure. Tico Napoli says, what if Van wants Ehlers? Go for it. Sign me up. A little pushback over on Twitch from Fat Tony. For your information, Vancouver has EP40, Hughes, a huge step ahead of Morrissey and Miller, better than Scheifele. Canucks must have cups. Hey, no trade guarantees you a cup, but this one sure as hell brings you into a better tier, gives you a better chance at one. And I got to say, I do like the Winnipeg Jets' depth up front a bit better than Vancouver currently has, personally. The biggest X factor as well, Connor Hellebuck. That's the other difference, where if you're adding a player like Connor Hellebuck is special on his own, and if you're adding another player in that tier like Elias Pettersson, you're giving yourself that big shot to make that push that Vancouver just doesn't have currently. I like the Jets' depth way better, and Connor Hellebuck is that complete difference where this is your opportunity. And yeah, like you said, nothing guarantees you a championship. Nothing guarantees you a win. But this is your chance to give it your best shot, and he changes the look of that lineup so much that I think it's worth it. Max Silent says you might have to include IFL for cap purposes, and that might derail it, or might be a deal breaker. I love the cheekiness. Jet-centric points out. Perfetti on pace for 54 points. Good number for us 50-point bettors this year.
Yep.
Elias also does say EP would be pretty sick. I don't know if that's in Chevy's playbook, and we've never seen Chevy make that level of trade. This is definitely a hypothetical that I'm not saying is overly realistic or something that I foresee the Winnipeg Jets doing. I'm just saying that if that goes that direction, which it seems to be heading, I just saw before jumping on that even Friedman's talking on 32 Thoughts on Hockey Night in Canada that both players have been told if they don't fix this, one of them will be going. I'm just saying this is a very, very big opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets potentially coming up here.
Yeah, it's hard to see Chevy deviating so far from the normal operating procedure. It's not in their their makeup to go that big with something like this, but they've never really been in a position where they've had so much media attention nationally. Historical start in terms of points and things like that to start the year. This is the deepest roster they've ever had, and now their stars are the guys that they've committed to, right? They've committed a lot of money to these guys over the years, and these players have committed a lot of their career now to this team. this is the time now where you have to make that big bet for them, so that you're telling them and the rest of the NHL that this is a serious organization, that when they see that opportunity to strike and to win, that they take it. So, yeah, they've never done it really that big before, but they've never been in a position like this to do it. So I think it's, you never know. You just never know. Maybe it's a Christmas miracle out there.
Max the Silent wants to pull one over on Rutherford and says, forget Salmonson. Myers might need a 6'7" matching partner. If you catch what I'm throwing down, I can picture the Canucks social media already. Our twin towers are still standing.
Oh, God.
Jesus. Speaking of which,
yes.
Elias does ask on our way out here. We're going to get into the 3 stars right away. If Billy Miller plays well again in the Toronto game, do you think they continue to sit Stanley? I hope so. I wouldn't get too excited about that idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, I doubt it. We saw to start the year, even when Fleury was playing well, Stanley, as soon as he was healthy, popped right back in. Second time Stanley got hurt, as soon as he was healthy, didn't matter who was playing, popped right back in. I honestly believe that as soon as he is healthy and able to play, he's going to be right back on that third pairing on the left-hand side. It is what it is. Scott O'Neill has said it many times. He likes the size. He wants the size back there, whether it can play or not. That part of it doesn't matter. He wants size, so it is what it is.
Interesting. Mikey, I'm going to answer T. Konopali here, then we'll jump into the 3 stars and get on with our Saturday.
Heck yeah.
Nick, which of our FAs are most likely to resign, and which of them would you consider trading at the trade deadline if at that point they even hold a bit of value? That's a good question on the free agents. I've been pretty convinced that they will sign Neil Pionk. Seems like they have a good relationship there. The nice thing, I don't see them re-signing unless that number comes in a lot lower than when it currently is. Nemestikov, I could see them signing on another 1 or 2 year deal at $2 million, but I mean, at some point you do got to make room, and that is an aging player. Ehlers is the big question, and I've been pretty steadfast that my belief was they were going to go through the deadline and he was going to be the first skilled player to walk out of Winnipeg. We'll see. It's a hard read right now. Everything's just so focused on what's going on. I would like them to wait until this season plays out before signing any FA that they currently have, and I'm guessing that happens, though we've seen Chevy lock up some guys in this situation in the past. I would be waiting patiently on this one. As far as trades, I would trade anybody for the right value. So when it comes to that kind of question, doesn't matter to me much as long as you're getting the value you need to try and take another step. On the third pairing convo, Fat Tony 202 makes a really great point here, and Sandberg is getting back on the ice on the 27th, is what we heard this week. He says Sandberg might be ready by the time Stanley is ready, and that does change things. I do think if we see Sandberg and Stanley get healthy around the same time, we might see more Billy Miller. Stanley, part of it, other than the size, was the trust on the PK, which is weird given Miller's history in the NHL on the PK. I don't know why they haven't trusted him there. But with having that asset still there, I do think that's when we might see a trigger pulled. But again, until it happens, I just would bet on Stanley being in the lineup. But that's a really good point from Fat Tony 202 over on Twitch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I know they said that they're expecting to see him back on the ice on the 27th. I take that to mean starting to skate by himself, right? Which is still going to be a little while before that's back on the ice in terms of starting in a hockey game. So, yeah, I think we'll probably see Stanley before Sandberg in the lineup, healthy, unfortunately. And then it'll just be, that'll be the interesting thing to see what happens once Sandberg is healthy, to see what happens to Hayden Fleury. Hayden Fleury is another guy that is a UFA come the summer. On a cheap deal, I'd be more than happy to bring him back. I don't know if he's going to want to come back on, at all, but
I'm out.
You're out already? Yeah. No, not even
I'm
for
out.
depth on the in the press box. You're okay with it?
If I trusted them to use a guy like that as only depth, maybe.
That's fair enough. Yep. So, but yeah, I honestly, even though he's playing top 4 right now and Stanley's been playing on that third pairing, I think when Sandberg comes back and takes that spot back, Stanley stays there and it doesn't push Fleury down. I think Fleury just goes straight to the press box and Stanley stays in the lineup.
In which Jetcentric says Stanley is too big of an asset to rush back. Give him lots of time just to be sure he's good to go. In brackets, July. The chat's buzzing, and so we'll keep going a little bit here. Adam Douglas asked, "Hey, I just tuned in. Is the Pettersson talk and from Insider Rumors or just chat wishes?" In which Frosty Winnipeg says chat wishes and caviar dreams. Definitely chat wishes and caviar dreams, though. The rumors and the reporting is coming out of Vancouver, and it's now all over 32 Thoughts that unless Pettersson and Miller figure it out, one of them is going to have to go. It's possible, and Rutherford's already put Petey on the table once. I think Tockett's a Miller guy. We'll see. We'll see. It's not a for sure thing, but the whispers are getting louder. The whispers are getting louder.
And
it's actually a full-blown firestorm. Even Bruce Boudreau's commenting about it, how much they had a problem when he was coaching there. And that was, 18 months ago now?
That was a while ago now, yeah. It's deep-seated with those two, so it doesn't feel like it has a, an amicable ending somewhere in there. It feels like one of them is going to have to leave, so it can be like an old-school wrestling, loser leaves town match, and hopefully it's Pettersson to Winnipeg.
Hopefully. Lucas Strapp says, I'm so excited to watch Jagger. Really cool. Really cool. We'll touch on that, and then we'll get out of here.
Yep.
Brayden Yager, first Winnipeg Jet 2.0 to captain the Team Canada team.
Yeah.
The synchronicities of that deal, the little details continue to be quite fun to watch as far as number 14th overall pick, traded for a number 14th overall pick, 2 World Junior captains. We've talked about Yager being at the more premium position. Very excited to see a Winnipeg Jets prospect captaining Team Canada, and I'm really looking forward to that tournament now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if we've ever had in the NHL 2 players who were drafted at the same overall number, both captaining their respective World Junior teams, traded for each other a year after like that. It's real cool. It's real interesting. But yeah, so I guess, would you put Yager then as the highest rated prospect in 2.0 history? Captaining Team Canada, it's got to be pretty up there, right? No?
Probably perception will be a lot higher, but highest rated, not close for me. Not close.
Who would you put as the best?
Shifley was an assistant captain. Morrissey was an assistant captain, and both of them had higher
not a
ceilings
captain though.
As prospects.
Not a captain though.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing. I just I wouldn't put that much stock into the rating of the prospect.
We're supposed to be hyping these guys up
we're
supposed to be hyping these guys up for trades. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, that's my bad. I forgot the front offices were tuning into the landing strip.
That's right.
To see which way to go. That's my bad. If you want some optimism past just the caviar dreams, though, Zooch 40 does say Chevy has swung big before with the PLD trade, and I believe Fat Tony had brought that up as well with Dubois being a super hyped player earlier in the chat. PLD was heavily sought after, which we know is true, outside of Winnipeg, and no one wanted to talk about it at the time. We were calling it the Patrick Laine trade. Outside of Winnipeg, it was considered the PLD trade, given that, and he did what was needed to get done. Maybe this is his promise to Helly and Scheif. So if you want some optimism there, Zooch 40 is bringing it. Frosty Winnipeg does say, who's going to rebuild? Buffalo again, ? 13 games straight. That's a team that's probably going to shake it up with an owner that's going to want to shed even more money after not committing to the cap in a year where they wanted to get back into the playoffs. I'm waiting for the sell the team chance to start in Buffalo, but that's a team you're going to be seeing some assets moving out of. Mentions Detroit. Honestly, not a lot of sexiness over there in Detroit based on what Yzerman's done. Nashville has a potential. There's going to be opportunity. There's going to be opportunity for Kevin Cheveldayoff. We're going to see where he goes with it. Let's get into the 3 stars of tonight's game, and let's go on with our Saturday nights. Who do you got, Mikey? I'm going to give you the honors.
All right, so this one, there's a lot of Jets that were pretty good tonight, so it was a little bit hard to narrow down. I think I'm gonna go with, for my 3rd star tonight, I'm gonna go Ville Heinola. I'm gonna put him out there. I really like the progression that we've seen from him. That outlet pass is something I'm still gonna be dreaming about. Tonight. That was just absolutely beautiful. I want to see more of it. I really like the look of him and Miller together. So I'm going to be a bit of a homer. I'm going to put on my rose-colored glasses. I'm going to give Ville Heinola my 3rd star just out of some love. 2nd star, Cole Perfetti, only Jet with multi-points, 3-point game tonight. He looked great. He's been taking some flack from some of the fans lately. So Cole Perfetti, Mom Spaghetti, he gets number 2. Number 1, I went back and forth on quite a bit, but I think I'm going to settle on Connor Hellebuck. Even though it was tidy work, it was pretty not the most busy night for Hellboy. But league leading shutout number 4 for him. And not only that, that was the 8th shutout that he had in the calendar year, which ties in a record for American goaltenders with Tim Thomas and Jonathan Quick. So he got a big night for adding to his records. So I'll give it to him on that one on a night where there was a lot of Jets that were just kind of spread out and okay.
So I'm going to go with Vlad Nemeskov, number 3rd star. Talk a lot about that second line not functioning and him being a bit of a offensive black hole. Liked him in this one, so let's give him number 3. Number 2, coming off game 500, rough stretch in California. That bomb is a weapon.
Yep.
Neil Pionk, number 2 star. And Cole Perfetti, number 1. That's the Cole Perfetti I want to see more of. That's the one I believe in. Loved what I saw from Cole Perfetti in this one. He's going to be my number 1 star. And once again, I want to thank you, the audience, for being here, listening to the landing strip presented by From Financial. I missed you guys after the Cali trip. Looking forward to bringing another show tomorrow. We'll release Monday, and we'll be back for the Toronto Post game for one more show before Christmas here.
You guys know the drill.
And,
tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember, it's landing strip for your Winnipeg Jets post game.
And as a little teaser, rumor is the Nashville Predators tickets, the last home game of 2024, will be given out after Christmas. So we'll see you then.
Ooh, make sure you tune in.